Hi guys, I'm here with Lumas and he is of Chant It Down and he is I guess you would call yourself like a podcaster slash documentary maker, ancient history researcher. Um, is that a good title, would
Yeah,
you say?
yeah, that's sure. Go for
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's good.
I've had him on before. I was in his I did some clips for his last documentary, and so he's working on a second one. So I'm gonna have him on here and kind of talk about like the progress of what's been going on. So welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, so what is happening with the first documentary?
Well, Sacred Site is the documentary. It's been out actually a year, and it is about, well, here I'll read you people the official description I have on Film Hub so they can just I maybe don't have it here. Well, basically, I should just be able. Yeah, here it is. A global pilgrimage to investigate enigmatic ancient sites from hidden pyramids in Hawaii to mysterious sites in Australia. The ancient megalith building culture is emerging in places most are not looking. Sacred Site investigates these mysteries, and so that's what I have on my description for the actual official show. It's two chapters. And it's a season one. I originally it was one documentary, and I had more footage than for an average movie of 120 minutes, and I honestly felt like it worked better as a docu-series. It's been through a kind of a evolution as it released, and I would consider this a pilot for what's about to come because halfway through getting footage in places like Egypt and Malta and a few other places I've been to that are big known sites, I start getting stuff about out here and down under, and suddenly I'm working on things that are exposing new emerging sites and stuff people have never heard of before, and that became way more exciting. And so halfway through the making of season one, that became more of the focus. So now that's the heavy focus coming in season two, and it I had it the season one lost momentum due to the fact that I had a friend that said she can get it on Netflix for me. I was like, oh, okay, great, but I have to take it off of YouTube. It can't be out in the world, and so I did that and I waited like 4 months for a response. And then they didn't want to put it on there, probably because it has too much revealing of some conspiratorial things, and they're pretty woke on their side. So that kind of slowed it down, and then I went to Film Hub and re-released it, and it's on a few obscure sites now, but that's kind
Wasn't
of
it on
where it's
Amazon
gone.
or something at one point?
No, I wish I could have got it on there, but it never quite made it on there. It's on sites I'd never heard of before, like Fossum. It's like a Tubi, but I've never found it on there yet. And they say it's on there, but the main place it's on, and I didn't want it really to be on YouTube, but it's on a thing called Stash Paranormal, and it's gotten quite a few views on there now, or a decent amount, which is good. But it's on a varied platforms. Relay, see, I'd never heard of these things, and I'm just like, okay. And Spark TV, never heard of that either. But at least it's somewhere. So it's just I had no control of what Film Hub distributes, and so it ended up on these random weird places.
Well,
But
at
I
least
have
you
a
know now the process, so round two might be a little bit more successful with distribution since you already have been through this once, you know.
right.
And
It's a
I think
learning
like
process.
the
Yeah.
really fascinating thing for me was like even in the Sacred Site documentary, it's like, you know, you found like four possible pyramids in Hawaii, and even now, like you said, like you've sent me some like megalithic stone type things that have been found in like the areas where you think there's pyramids on the Big Island. And then like we just when we were talking in the pre-show, you were saying there's like pyramids in Tonga, and I mean, I keep on seeing pyramids all the time, like in just, like in New Mexico or Colorado, and I'll be like, that looks like a pyramid. That one looks like a pyramid. And I'm starting to really kind of go, I mean, we might really be able to figure out definitively if some of these actually are that soon because With the new satellite imagery stuff that's coming out, that's going to really help, I think, with these more where like the Bosnia pyramid, where it's like, oh, okay, well, it's a mountain that was manipulated potentially into a pyramid, or like where they constructed other stuff, right? So, what do you think is coming down the pike with our technology and the ability to find more pyramids?
Well, I mean, we got LiDAR, but I don't. But like there is, it'd be awesome to get LiDAR. And I think that I'm hoping that this kind of starts sort of a revolution of people that want to go find stuff in their own backyard and go, is that a mountain or is that a pyramid? Because we don't know. There's so many buried pyramids. And I think it takes really just going and doing the hard work and exploring it and finding if you find stones or find something there that indicates that it's not just a mountain. And I'm willing to do the work. So I like doing it. It's fun. It's like it feels like it's like a feeling I've. It's hard to explain, but you're going possibly changing history with doing some of this stuff, and it's like wow. This could not be a mountain, and everybody just thought it was a mountain for hundreds and thousands of years, maybe. But yeah, the technology. I mean, I wish I had access to great technology. All I have is my manpower and my team that wants to go explore here and down under in Australia. But I hope that expands worldwide, and I hope that more of us in this community can get a hold of some of this really cool technology, such as lidar, to explore these places.
So tell me about the ones in Hawaii. Like what made you, was it just like they look they like, look like a pyramid and you went up to them, or how did you, or did somebody tell you, oh, like there's stones there? Like how did you get aware in your awareness about these?
Well, each one kind of has its own story, but the first one is in a mysterious book. Well, I call it a mysterious book in the documentary, the first season, because I didn't want people going out and doing dangerous missions to try to find it, getting in trouble and coming back to me like, "Hey, you told me to go here." I didn't, but you know how people are. So I call it a mysterious book, but I've revealed it in my other podcasts. I have a sacred site podcast that explains all these adventures. But this first one, this guy talks about looking from the ocean, seeing this little peak, and going to go explore it. And it took him all day, and he found it, and he explains that it's a pyramid, and so he gives vague clues. So we're looking for a needle in a haystack, which is super hard, because we really don't have the right coordinates to where it's at. But that was one of them, and I don't know if we found it or not. It's still like I say, we need lidar, but there's one on the island of Kauai, which is a three-sided pyramid, and it has some stones that we found on top that are carved. And this is kind of crazy because it's like three. Is there any other three-sided pyramids? Not that I know of, or is it just a buried structure? But it's a tetrahedron in the middle of a field in a forest. And the things I look for to be objective with this kind of stuff is be like, well, okay, is there any other erosion patterns in the area that look like this? Because maybe it's just natural erosion, but there's nothing that slightly resembles that. And so that one was one of the more bigger revelations in season one. There was one here on my island, Oahu, that ended up not being one, but I put it in anyway, just to be like, hey, we're going on the journey. Maybe it is one, maybe it isn't. Okay, it isn't, or we need more information, but that's okay
So
because
what you determined based on like when you got up there, you just didn't see anything that would indicate.
well, it's lava rock throughout it. So, and if it's lava rock throughout it, then it would have been created 3 million years ago, according to geologists on this island. And I mean, I don't think it would have been a pyramid unless it was a pyramid 3 million years ago and then lava covered it. But I kind of doubt that because the volcano created that area. So
Right.
yeah, so I had to write that off, but it looks like one, and people online say it is one. And so some of these things that I've been doing out here are investigating every single thread of pyramids or megaliths out here that people say is, and then some half the time they're not. But it takes the investigation, and sometimes it's disappointing. You're like, oh man, but at least we looked.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gone down some dud rabbit holes before myself. But hey, it's part of the fun, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the megaliths images that you showed me on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
those look like very much block-like. Um, and where were those from?
Those are on the Big Island. Those will be revealed in season two. It's
Okay.
carved, hewn basalt, and having to think about like, okay, how did Hawaiians carve this? Every other Hawaiian site is just a pile of rocks, which we call a heiau or heiau out here, and they're not megalithic. Um, and these are carved into precision with right angles and with what too. The only other thing in Hawaii that would be that hard would be more basalt. And I don't know, I don't really think you can carve basalt with basalt. I think it would be pretty
Right.
um, ineffective anyway. So what is so this I can reveal some of it now. It is in a book, and it was a pyramid to explorers. They related it to the pyramid of Cholula in Mexico. They
Oh,
said it looks like that, and they described these four Western explorers, you could say. I guess they're from America. The guy's name is La Paz, which is Spanish, but um, he, describes it in detail. And there's been a lot of controversy because the last king of Hawaii covered it up, and that story runs deep. Excuse me, it runs deep in the documentary. It's a conspiracy right out here, and they potentially dismantled it and covered it up and planted trees over it. So in a sense, it's kind of like Gobekli Tepe in the way that it's looks like it was potentially buried.
well, even Cholula, which I almost went to la last month when I was in Mexico, and wouldn't you know it, on our way there in the cab, like the Google's like, might be closed on your arrival. And I'm like, what? And I looked at it and it was like the one day I decided to go, it wasn't open. So they had
Oh
closed it.
man.
So I called them and they were like, yeah, no, we're not open today. So I didn't end up going to Puebla, but it's supposedly one of the biggest verified pyramids in the world, or the biggest verified pyramid in the world. And it they built a church on top of it, so it's one of those things where it's, it's like, like we've talked about this before, I think, where like the church knows where the points are, and they've like done stuff on top of it. Or I find it interesting that you say that the Hawaiians like dismantled it before, I guess like maybe before a takeover, because when I was in Belize, we found a similar thing with some of the Mayan pyramids that were found there. They were like intentionally had capstones in the tops, like they intentionally tried to flatten as much of it as they could. Um, uh, Before, and like what the locals will say is like they did that before, like the Spanish conquistadors like could take over it or whatever. But it makes you wonder, kind of what the technology of it was that they didn't want to be used.
Yeah, I know, huh? I wonder too, like, well, it seems like a common theme across the world that a culture that found a lot of these things, even possibly the dynastic Egyptians probably possibly found those pyramids. But I wonder if they disregarded it because they have their own religion, like all across the world. These cultures, including Hawaiians, they had their own beliefs, and this was probably pre-Hawaiian, which we're thinking. And we're going to get carbon dating on some dirt, so that'll be interesting too. Even though I don't believe too much in the carbon dating, but it's like we can try.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think that when a culture has their own religion and beliefs and they come to a new place and they go, well, that thing doesn't matter to us, we'll just destroy it or whatever. Or they might think it's evil. I mean, look at again, Egypt. You got a country that's what, like 90% Muslim. They don't have any ties to like
The ancient
religiously.
Egyptians, yeah.
Yeah, no. So it's
Like
almost
that
like a
predates
replaced culture.
Muhammad. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I can see that kind of being across the world, especially if all these spots are really old and possibly even pre-flood. I mean, we don't know. Seems like some of them would be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like just even saying like, well, I don't know what would have cut basalt besides basalt on the island, because the metal, I mean, a metal, a copper, a metals alone aren't going to do that. Like, it's not like I don't think there's a plethora of diamonds and glass isn't hard enough or whatever. So, I mean, that's kind of like you get that all over the world, this whole like, how did they build that with what they had available, And we don't have, uh, we don't have any information on how this, I mean, like, there isn't really good text about Egyptian pyramids like they're building, right? It has the Khafre's name and the Great Pyramid, but it's like chicken scratch, and it's like what you build this pristine, amazing thing, and then you it's like somebody just graffitied it. It's not like it's the seal of oh, I officially like carved this with like a nice engraving kind of thing. It wasn't like that. And there's no um inside. They didn't even get inside till this century, and they couldn't even get inside. They had to blow it up like and connect with the main tunnel. They couldn't even figure out where the main entrance was until they dynamited their way in. And when they got in, there's no hieroglyphs, there's nothing, so a lot of these pyramids, they don't make sense from uh they're not huge vessels where a ton of people can live in, or where a community like there's no the insides don't make sense in terms of like space for people versus the effort that it's made to have them. So it's very bizarre the amount there are. The configurations are also bizarre, like you kind of have like that Orion belt thing in Mexico, China, Egypt, like, like what's that about, So I think they're way more prevalent than people realize, and they definitely have a function and some kind of utility that we aren't seeing. But that's where I get into more like, yeah, I'm not 100% sure this is human, you know.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, all the cards are on the table, aren't they? Because we don't know. Like, I got forwarded a video by my good friend that he's not really into what we're into exactly, but it's kind of cool because he gave me a video by this guy named Ancient Architects on YouTube. You've probably seen him before.
Matt,
And
yeah.
yeah, Matt, yeah. And he sent me a video that challenged my beliefs going into this a little bit. And this guy, Matt, he's gone down the rabbit holes of Graham Hancock and many others. And then he's come out and said, well, maybe the best evidence is that these are tombs. And I'm like, what? No way. So I went through the whole video and fighting my way through it because I'm like, no, 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 no. And well, I came out on the other side a little. I had some questions. I learned a few things, but at the same time, I had to sharpen my own skills and go and start. I started writing down. I'm like, okay, no, no, this doesn't make sense because, like tombs, for example, you've been to probably the Luxor tombs. I went there.
And
The
the Valley of the
the
Kings and the
Valley of the
Valley of the
Kings.
Queens, which
Those are
are actual
tombs.
tombs.
Yeah, those are tombs, and they have hieroglyphs everywhere. Why would they make an incredible pyramid, a credible building, and not deck it out with the inside with hieroglyphs and make it special? And why would they, do that later in history? It seems like the tombs in the Valley of the Kings are a devolved form of tomb if they use the pyramids for tombs, and I just don't think they are. So I had to go through that video, but I'm kind of glad I did because it sharpened my skills and thinking like, okay, it made me question everything I think I know, and maybe that's good sometimes really in the end, because then you can come out and go, okay, I do actually, I am on the right path, but I had to reassess because I don't actually agree with that video in entirety, but it does bring up some good questions. And so I think it's a good thing to learn along the way. that maybe it's better to dig your own rabbit hole versus to fall down a pre-made rabbit hole.
Well, and that's how I feel, and thank you for saying that because that's how I feel about the Younger Dryas event, right? Like, because they're all talking about the comet impact theory, and I don't really buy that because we don't have the evidence of the craters of the comets. Like, then they'll say, oh, but they hit the ice sheets and the like ice ages, and then this and that, and then I just am, I just think that it does, there's a lot of things that don't add up for me about it. Like I don't think there's enough proof of evidence. So it's almost like we're using somebody else's theory and then building on that as if it's true. So we're building things on top of a thing that we're assuming to begin with. So the evidence for an actual comet impact 10,000 years ago isn't strong enough to be convincing without a doubt to me. Like I've seen the evidence, like the Carolina Bays, they think is like some strewn field of some of the debris or they have yeah, stuff like that. But I'm just not 100% convinced. I'm actually more inclined after visiting places like Elephantine Island or, you know, places in New Mexico like Shiprock or all like City of Rocks and stuff like that, where it looks like they got nuked, man. It looks like I'm actually more inclined to look at the Vedic text or something, the Bharat, and start thinking like, okay, well, there has been other cultures that have talked about kind of like weapons that were able to do like great destruction. And I mean, maybe it's not like nukes in the same way that our nukes are, but like some form of mass war, I think maybe could have happened because I things just seem kind of intentionally destroyed in selective places, and it's almost like they forgot Peru. They forgot, there was a couple of like they forgot parts of Egypt, they forgot parts of Peru, they forgot, certain parts of Turkey, like that. Like there's some things that, or like Göbekli Tepe is intentionally buried apparently, so um, people kind of maybe knew things were coming, or like, and I had this one lady talk about how, the way she saw it in her mind's eye was that um, almost like there was a warring faction of maybe like the pre-humans, like whatever they were that had this other civilization, like
Yeah.
intentionally dismantled their pyramids. Like she told me this when we were in Belize because they knew like the next round of whatever we are in this video game was coming. So it was like they dismantled their own equipment before so that it couldn't get used. So I don't know about that, but it is an interesting thought experiment.
Well, yeah, I mean, I actually agree with that too. I mean, if you look at well, especially in the Indus Valley, you got what's it called, Mohenjo-Daro, where they found like trinitite glass and like it's obviously destroyed by some kind of something. And then you go to the Vedic text and they talk about the Vimanas and the wars of these beings or whoever they were, these gods. And yeah, it kind of makes more sense to me than a comet impact because yeah, there isn't a lot of evidence, huh? I mean, there's some vitrification in Egypt, but again, that could be even from,
That could be from, yeah.
right.
And I mean,
And
I've done a bunch of research on tektites and trinities. So like I live about 2 hours from the Trinity site in New Mexico. And actually this coming weekend I'm gonna go there because they only open it up twice a year for you to go to the Trinity, like where they actually tested the first nuke.
oh,
But
cool.
nukes, if you look at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they didn't leave crater. There's no crater impact. And so I think that's really bizarre. And then I have a bunch of trentite, and I've looked at it in a microscope against my tektites, which tektites are covering 10% of the strewn field of the planet. Supposedly, a lot of them is in the ocean, which really wouldn't make sense for, meteor impacts. But they they are I can't distinguish the difference when I'm looking at them in a microscope. They have the little spheroid. They're basically a tektite is the story of what they say it is when a meteorite hits the ground, the sand and the dirt that it hits goes up into the air, sometimes they say even into space, and then falls back down, rains back down, and while the glass is cooling and it's coming back down from the impact, it gets these tiny little like teardrop, like microscopic bubbles in it, and then it like lands on the ground and becomes a form of glass. Like moldavite is a tektite, columbianite, australianite, which has weird little spheroid ones, which are really
Oh
cool
yeah.
examples. But then trintite is what a nuclear weapon does to the sand whenever it goes off, and they're not distinguishable. So, I mean, people are like, yeah, but a blast is a blast. But I'm like, yeah, maybe. But I mean, like, I think we might be dealing with something different than we're told.
Yeah, I mean, I've even heard some people say nukes are fake. I don't really go down that rabbit hole too much, but I
Yeah, I've gone
suppose
down that rabbit hole just because, like, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
yeah.
Kind of used as a fear tactic, right?
Well, I've come to I've been thinking alternatively, I guess, since and for a very long time now, I guess. And I've kind of gone through a lot of phases. I can think back in my times, and I think I've come to a point where now I'm like, okay, well, there are these rabbit holes, but like, there's a lot of crap out there too, and I think we really have to sift through it ourselves.
Like birds aren't real. Like, I mean, you get sometimes
Ah,
they
yeah,
get too crazy. Yeah.
yeah. I don't subscribe to the flat Earth myself. I've done my work. I went down and I put it through my investigations, but I've come out the other side like I don't think so. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are putting things out there as if they're true, but we really kind of have to, just as much as the mainstream archaeologists and mainstream people put out, I think we need to vet also the alternative media equally.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and as far as flat Earth is concerned, I mean, like that one is one that I've like just never really dug my heels in one way or the other. Like I've also gone down that rabbit hole, and I'm not convinced either way. But I'm also not convinced that we're like, we're monkeys on a spinning ball in outer space either. Like I kind of I'm kind of more of a simulationist, honestly, and like think that we're like, this is all Maya. It's all like an illusion and the mind of God kind of like I kind of feel like I think of things more like in video games and realms. And like some people think that that's really black pill or something, but I don't know. That for me, that framework seems to make more sense sometimes. But it's just where I am right now. That doesn't mean I won't evolve into something different soon.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. But yeah, like but I'm not triggered by flat Earth, and I'm not triggered by like, birds being fake kind of triggers me. I'm like, no, that's not that
Yeah,
one's
that's weird.
that one's kind of crazy because like they think they're all like drones to spy on you kind of thing or something.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Um, but yeah, I definitely do believe. I actually just interviewed a guy who does telepathy. Or well, yeah, but he does telepathy, but he also does telekinesis stuff and he does trainings for those.
Hmm.
And just kind of like the idea of like like we're collectively deciding what our limitations are or aren't, and like what reality is, and so that's kind of one of those things where when you start going down that rabbit hole, you're going to like going like, whoa, okay. But in the end, the megaliths and all that are really fascinating to me because we cannot really explain them with what we have currently.
No, no, we can't. And we can't like none of the cultures can really claim them. Um, most of the cultures in the world attribute it to the gods or some kind of somebody else did it. I mean, Peru is a great place because you can really see um, the different layers of civilization there. Like you can see the Inca work is obviously the mortar and more crude looking compared to the
Smaller little
megaliths.
stones, yeah.
Yeah. I had this lady on my show, Camille Sauve, and
Oh, I've read her book actually.
yeah, she's pretty cool. She's going to be on the next series, and she has the goes with the monoliths before the megaliths. She calls, and I learned from her. I was like, wow, that's interesting because it is true. There are megaliths on top of these like older carved things in Peru and a few other spots in the world. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, you can kind of see that like nobody can really claim really any of these works entirely, and they don't have a no one has a good explanation on how they've created them. And I wondered too, like I was like, what bug bit me about 10 years ago that got me so into this? And I think it's because the answers of our past are so important because we're kind of in the dark. If I've never been satisfied with the fact that we can just, as soon as I got out of high school, I realized like all we do is work, and I've never been
Yeah.
satisfied with that reality. I've just been like, no, there's got to be way more to it. And I feel like for some reason this ancient megalithic past has the answers that we need for who we are and why we're here, much more than anything else. And I think we have to dig in the past to find these answers because I don't think we're going to get them from currently investigating what's currently happening necessarily.
And I also like have always had the feeling it's like we age really quickly. Like, I mean, but like the way this whole system's working, like, okay, you go to school till you're like 18 or 22, whatever, if you go to college or not, then you get out, you get a job, and then you work your ass off until you're 65, and then you're too old to like physically move very well, and then you can go on like 3 vacations, and then you go to a nursing home and die. Like that seems like about like that's about what they want for you. And and it's just like, and even if people do go on trips, it's like they go to Disneyland or they go on a cruise or they go in the lane they're supposed to, like
Right.
I even sometimes feel about um how often do you go off the highway, and even then off of a main road? Like, how many dirt roads have you been on in your life? Like, I've been on a lot, but I mean, there's some people who I don't know if they've ever been on a dirt road. And you have to think about like the highway systems and everything that is there is that's like your approved lane that you can go on. But there's a giant, big world out there, and we think we know we've discovered everything and that everything's out there in the open. But I'm here to tell you, like that's not the case. Like you have to go where the road's less traveled to find something different.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good metaphor too. I mean, as the highway, like people just stay on the main arteries, and yeah, I honestly think that we need to be searching out ourselves, everybody, and get out of this paradigm of working all the time. Sorry, there's like two military helicopters going over. I don't know if is that picking
I
up?
can hear a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
Yeah, okay. They're loud here. Anyway, but yeah, I've always felt like there's just not like what are we doing? And it just never satisfied me that I'm going to go now after high school. I'm going to go to work. I think it's because one night I took mushrooms with my friend. I was 19 and we walked around all night and we observed everybody wake up and go to work. We observed the system turn on. And it was like, whoa, for some reason it hit me hard. This is what people do. This is it. And if you look at your life in increments of 20, it's really fast. I mean, okay, you spend your first high school years till you're 18, and then you might as well just round that to 20, and then you got 20 more years and you're 40, and those are the years you're in your real prime. Probably, maybe you can extend that. I'm in my 40s, but hey, and then another 20 years I'll be 60 and I'll be retirement years, and then another 20 years from that, if you make it that long, you're in a nursing home where you're old and elderly and you're not going to be able to do anything. So you really only have this little window of time to
You have four
really,
increments if you're lucky, or five, but the last one
yeah.
would be horrible if you do make it.
Right. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
just falling apart. I mean, I'm already feeling some of the things I've done in my life now like my knees, all the hikes and stuff I've done. I can feel it now a little bit. I'm like, oh, great. So what's that going to be like in 20 more years, you know? So it's like, yeah, our lives are really short. And I just feel like we got to live it to the fullest and make the best out of it, especially like this whole, like you said, like somebody travels like 3 times and then they die or something. It's like, I'm doing all my traveling now. Like, well, I'm able to, I couldn't even imagine being like 70 years old with the jet lag of going all the way from Hawaii to Egypt or some crazy, like I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to handle that
It's hard
probably,
on me now. I can't imagine doing
Yeah,
that in my
right, right. So live life now. That's what I always tell people. Like, just have as much fun as you can, as long as you don't ruin your life and get hooked on drugs. Not that kind of fun, but like, just enjoy life. Life's amazing, but we're stuck in this little paradigm. I got to go to work tomorrow, and probably you do too, and
Mhm.
back to the grind. But there's a lot more to life, guaranteed.
There really is, and it's I think like it's really a shame the kind of system that we've built because it's done a lot of stealing of our time, and 2 weeks a year is not sufficient to be a human. Like I wasn't born here to just feed myself to survive. Like there's more to do here than that. But yeah, so that's unfortunately something that we all have to, you know, try to figure out and try to maneuver around all that. So, and I don't know what the answer is, honestly, because it's like, let me give you guys a hint. Podcasting isn't it
No,
yeah. And that this is just a passion project and for fun, but this does not pay anything.
no,
Yeah.
no. I've been doing it since 2013, and I have nothing to show for but some good people. But that's not. I think if anything, this is kind of just. It's always good for other people. And like if I tune into a podcast that I like, I'm like, oh, that conversation made me happy because I'm not alone or whatever. But yeah, I feel like we're doing good in the world. It's just
It's
it's
not
not a
rewarded in the financial,
no,
right?
no. I know some people that make a living off of it, but when I see how much they have to put into it, I'm like, whoa, that's I don't know. And would it really? How much of a living would you make? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I really don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
and then it kind of, the passion of it kind of starts to wane. I think you can kind of see it's just the same questions, the same this.
right.
Yeah. The grind of the social media game, which is just like you're paying for attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what else is the new documentary going to be about? So last time, because you kind of touched on kind of like the control system like that we have on the planet.
Right.
So are you
Yeah.
touching on that again or did not?
Well, no, I kind of wanted to, so I named it Sacred Site as in sacred site with your eyes because it's like a double entendre because it's you need to have the right sight to see with your eyes in this world presently, and sacred sites we're visiting too. But then it actually became a triple entendre when my friend was like, hey, we need the sacred site to see the site, because sometimes you can't see a buried pyramid at first and go, oh, that is, oh, okay, so it's actually 3 things. But so I've kind of gone into a little bit of rabbit holes as far as like human origins, kind of sort of where we were going a little bit there, and talking about more history, cover up a bit, but I'm mostly focusing on new sites around the world and a few very unheard of sites. And I think now that I know what I'm doing, like I said in season 1, halfway through it, I knew what I was doing. Like, oh, this is more about finding new places, because look, I can't offer much more about Egypt. Everyone's on that. I mean, what can I say? What can I say much more about Peru? But if we can show, especially Hawaii, because it's the most isolated island chain in the world, that people came all the way out here and also built things, megaliths and pyramids, that means that it was worldwide. And I feel like my job has become uncovering the lost ancient world in here, the South Pacific, and Australia, New Zealand, a hole in the world where there really isn't a lot, but there is. And if I had funding for a season three. I have all these spots planned out through the South Pacific that I know of that would be lovely to get to, but that's so expensive. I just don't have the means. This is all coming out of my pocket. It's a passion project too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, let's get this set. The second season is way more exciting. I'm really happy about it. It's coming together great. It's about two-thirds shot, and I got my buddy Triffin with unlocking the code down in Australia. He's gotten a lot of cool stuff that's going to come to the surface too. And so it's just everything's coming together really nicely now that we kind of are streamlined on knowing what we're doing. So it's fun. And it, even if someone isn't a little like, I always tell people like the first season's a little hardcore. I talk about even some modern conspiracies, but even that, I've shown it to audiences on the Big Island. I had a showing, and most of the people in there would not agree with a lot of the stuff I'm saying, but they liked the entertainment aspect of going like Indiana Jones or someone like that, going to find things. They liked that. So even though they might have been like, "Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that," at the end of the day, they enjoyed that. So this one will only enhance that, like going on a mission, bushwhacking, going where no one's gone before or don't not many people have gone, and it just gives you that feeling like, oh wow, there's so much more out there, and we have not found everything in this world,
No,
not even
for sure.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they still find things in Egypt, right? They still find things
Right.
like in these other places that are super combed over. But I've been really down the rabbit hole of my friend Stig, David Hansen, he does a lot of Google Earthing, and he's really obsessed with dikes, and I am too, because like I think these volcanic dikes are, some of them are actually walls. Like when I went to Shiprock and I saw that for myself in person, I'm like, these are actual blocks that are like polygonal in here that are like, they're very, very old, but they're very, and if you even look at them on Google Earth, like I mean, they're straight walls. There's one in Dulce area in North New Mexico where I live, and it's 15 miles straight, miles,
Yeah.
straight wall. Like that doesn't
Wow.
bend at all. Like that's, and they call it a volcanic dike, but there's like four or five of them that are just perfectly next to each other, perpendicular, 15 miles long. Like I just don't think that's natural.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I've not really seen that. That's cool though, because that's another hole in this megalithic map is kind of North America. There's not a whole lot, but I think there could be more. What are your thoughts on the Sage Wall? Have you been there yet?
Yeah,
Or
I missed my opportunity to go. But I think I probably will go in the next year or two. I mean from the video evidence that I've seen, it looks kind of hard to deny that that's a wall, right? It looks very similar to Peru.
yeah.
Rockwall, Texas, supposedly I've been there and I've looked at some of the blocks that they have at the courthouse, which is supposedly from the wall. It's they say it's a square mile wall thing that's buried now, but it's bricks or big blocks. It's not natural the way that Scott Walter guy said it was. So I think there's a lot more mysteries here. I mean, there's like I said, there's a lot of places in New Mexico that I live, I've been to this place called the Los Lunas Declage Stone, which has like this ancient writing on it. Um which you can't go on actually because I got kicked off last time I was there because
Oh,
the reservation came and like swarmed my car and like four SUVs were there and they were like, "Oh, you're
oh no.
trespassing on native land and all this stuff." And I showed them my BLM like permit and they said that's not valid here. This is reservation land and like my AI said it wasn't. Google said it wasn't, but they said it was and they had, there's a lot more of them than me and I'm like, okay. All right, maybe it is then. Sorry, what do I know? So I wouldn't recommend going there, but basically there are all these places that they don't make sense and there's something else going on. And one of the reasons why like my I've intuited that North America is such a dead zone is like I think this was like ground zero of the war of or whatever of where the of what this of where things would have hit.
Hmm.
I mean, just look at the desert, in general, like how much of it is I think deserts maybe aren't natural. I Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I mean, I know that there are drier and wetter areas due to mountain ranges, and you got the leeward and windward sides, but
Mhm.
large tracts of desert, like especially the Sahara, they're finding stuff.
Well, the
I think,
Sahara they show was actually a forest like up to 5,000
yeah,
years ago. Like and I personally have 4 or 5 pieces of petrified wood from the Sahara.
yeah. So there's that, and yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that these deserts are places that mass destruction happen. A friend of mine, a couple of friends of mine that do Grimerica podcast. I don't know if you know them, but
Yeah.
they um they're going to be on the next project too. But they go into a lot of this ancient cataclysm stuff with Randall Carlson and stuff. And but they were saying like let's just look at like how the how the deserts of the Southwest and how many like the Grand Canyon and the I mean, some major stuff happened there that didn't really happen like in Europe. If you compare that to Europe's topography or really anywhere on Earth, where you just have these massive cataclysms that happen from volcanic to who knows exactly what triggered all this. But North America is a big place for looks like ancient cataclysm for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we have huge calderas and
Mm-hmm.
you know, like yeah, so anyway, but that does make me feel like but then you hear of these stories and I keep hearing this is a thing that I hear, but that I've never personally read or had person say to me. But like I've heard a lot of people talk about how there are tribes in Australia or like the Aborigines who will say that they remember a time before the moon, you
Right.
know, and that when the moon came is like when everything started changing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, who knows that if that could be something, some way involved.
I did a show about that with a friend. We went deep diving through that, and it really honestly like when you look at the what they say how the moon got here, none of these theories seem correct. Like the official versions, like none of it really, if you really, it's like a bed of sand that they've really built off
So
of.
is
And
the official one they're going with right now is that we were hit by some other big body and divided, and then that's part of old Earth, right?
yeah, it's been a while since I did that show. There's the giant impactor theory. I think that might have been the one that they're going with now. But when I was growing up, they weren't going with that. They were going with something a little bit different. I remember, um, but none of it really makes sense. And as crazy as it sounds, the hollowed out spaceship coming here actually makes a little more sense than anything else because of the way that if the Earth was straight up on its axis and something came in and tilted it, more than likely it could have been the moon. Um,
Well, and
you
also
know,
like the tidal lock, like the fact that we only see one face of it and it never shows the dark side to us, that's
yeah,
weird. That's so weird. And that,
and the size of it compared to other moons in the
yeah,
solar
yeah,
system. Yeah,
totally Death Star looking.
it is. And I mean, it just seems like all the craters are the same depth, like they're hitting something, some
Mhm.
core. There's a lot to it, but I don't remember how many. I'd have to pull up that show. It's been about 3 years, but we've found all kinds of manuscripts and tribes and legends and stuff about the time before the moon. Credo Mutwa, you might know who
Mhm.
that guy is. Kind of
The
worked with David
yeah,
Icke a lot.
the African guy who
Yeah, he had a legend about these two brothers, which reminds me of Enki and Enlil, really. They hollowed out some dragon's egg or something and they brought it to the earth, caused cataclysm. That's how they arrived here, changed the earth forever, maybe caused the flood. I can't remember the full story offhand, but it's an interesting legend that the Zulus have there. So I don't know how much of his work I agreed on, but I mean, he was a shaman. He lived to like 99 years old. So I don't think he was out for fame, really. He died in poverty, but interesting. It's really interesting. The moon to me makes a lot of sense that it's a foreign object that just really messes with people now. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
yeah. Go to a place where there's a bunch of crackheads right before a full moon, and you'll see that going off. People going nuts,
Yeah, I mean they say like that's no joke in hospitals on full moons. Like
right?
yeah, like way the statistics way uptick. So that's
Yeah.
interesting, you know. But and then crops and things, right? Like you plant in a new moon and yeah, I mean like there's certain times to do like things with seeds and gardening and stuff. Like
Hmm.
you have to kind of follow a cycle with that. So I mean it definitely has its effects here, which is bizarre.
And fishing too. There's certain good for especially ocean fishing mainly, but like there's good like right now actually as we're recording this is great time to go fish on the east side of this island, and it's because of the moon cycles. So
Mm.
everything's affected by it. Yeah, constantly.
Well, all right. Okay, so tell us a little bit about where people can find you
Mhm.
and what, like, well, if there's anything else you want people to kind of know and be focused on when you think this will be out.
Yeah. So Sacred Site season two will probably be two chapters like the first one, but it might even be more. We'll see how it all fits together with all the footage. But I'm hoping that it comes out either August or October. It's there's a lot of moving parts, and I don't actually have control of a few of these parts. And so there's one place we're trying to get access to that's extremely remote and hard to get to on the Big Island, and I don't know how we're going to get there yet. So there's things like that that are still kind of waiting to be unfolded, but that's going to hopefully come out this year. I have like say 2/3 of it shot. I'm doing interviews for it right now and stuff like that. But yeah, that they can see the first one at sacredsite.info. I have links on there that go straight to where it's on a YouTube channel. I think that's the best place to go for it at the moment because these obscure apps, I mean, people don't even know what Fossum is. I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what it was either. So that's the best way to see the season one's two chapters. And you can find my podcast, Chant It Down, chantitdownradio.com. And I'm on social media. Like, I'm not very big on social media, to be honest, but Instagram and um, also Telegram. And yeah, I really don't do that much. I probably should, but
Your
I feel
main
like
thing feels to me like it's more like the podcast thing, you know?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah. And I
But I
have
mean,
another podcast too. Sorry.
what's your other podcast?
Sacred Site podcast. And that might be more for those that really just want to have the narration of going on an adventure and finding these sites. It's like a complementary to the documentary. Like, yeah, I show you clips of things, but this is the whole journey and you can hear how it all went and all the stories. And it's just fun storytelling time. So I'm getting a lot more people interested in that now because if they like this stuff, then they're going to like to hear, what it's like to go and just the situations we get into and getting kicked off private property and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's
Anyway,
awesome. Yeah, well, when it's out, let me know.
mhm, of course.
I'm about to like I'm gonna do a little speaking in it myself, so I'll make
Yeah.
a little guest appearance, you guys, which I think I'm excited about. And yeah, I really liked your first documentary, and I like what you're doing, and I think
Thank you.
if other and hey, my people are kind of good little explorers, and they come up with nice tips. So if you guys have any South Pacific ancient awesome site tips, let them know.
Yeah, I always encourage. Yeah, especially with the Sacred Site podcast, because I've awoken some people like, hey, I know where that is. I can tell you about this and this. I'm like, cool, awesome. That's what I wanted it to do. So yeah, and someone wrote me about a place in Washington State called Mount Tum Tum, and it looks like a pyramid. I don't know if it is or not, but it's why not try go and investigate. That's what I told them. Go check it out then. So
Yeah,
never hurts. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right, Lewis. Well, we will talk soon. So have a
Okay.
thank you. Bye.
Thank you.